Joining me now is Robert Reich, former labor secretary in the Clinton administration. He's now a professor of public policy at the University of California at Berkeley and the author of Aftershock. Thanks for joining me tonight, Bob.
Good evening, Lawrence.
This is a fighting president going out there in the Rose Garden this morning with that speech. There was nothing conciliatory there. It seems to me that he is confident enough in these positions that he's outlined and their voter appeal that he's going right over the head of Congress on day one and willing to actually ridicule and make fun of the speaker in his announcement of what he wants to do legislatively.
This is a new Barack Obama. This is a feisty president who is in an election year contest right now. You know, I would have predicted, Lawrence, that the big battle to come was over Medicare, Republicans wanting to cut it, maybe Democrats not wanting to cut it, or maybe the big battle to come would be over the jobs plan. But no, the big battle to come is over whether we increase taxes on the wealthy. And it's a battle that not only Americans are siding with the president on, but it's a moral battle as well. The top 1% are now taking home 20%, more than 20% of total income. The more and a larger portion than they've taken home in 90 years. And they're facing lower taxes and lower tax rates than they faced in 50 years. And what the president is saying is Americans are on their backs. I mean, most Americans are either jobless or afraid of losing their jobs, or their wages are going down. They can't make ends meet. And you at the top, you have got to play your part. Enough of this. And I think most Americans say yes. That is a moral argument that I agree with.
You know, it is my sense that the Republicans were so unready to deal with the specifics of the president's proposal that they just fell back on the class warfare line today. And I think they're seeing the same polls that everyone else sees. They know that the public is on the president's side on the taxation issues. There were other areas to go at, I think, in the specificity of what the president released today for the Republicans to maybe try to maneuver. But it seems to me that they fell into the president's trap perfectly, since they're so reflexive on taxation that any mention of a change in taxes sent them right into class warfare mode.
I think it was a trap. I mean, the interesting thing, Lawrence, is that you had these polls showing Americans overwhelmingly. I mean, these polls are very clear. It's not just one poll. I mean, you got about 12, 15 different polls showing Americans overwhelmingly of the opinion that the rich have to pay their fair share, that they've got to pay more taxes if we're going to get out of this debt bubble problem we're in. And what the Republicans did was to say reflexively, because they've all taken this pledge that they're not going to raise taxes on the rich or anybody, what they say reflexively is class warfare, which sets Democrats up to say, obviously, well, wait a minute. The top CEOs in this country that have been raking in $10s, $20 million each and are laying off American workers, the ratio of corporate profits to wages that has not been as high as it's been now since before the Great Depression. Who is actually waging class warfare? It is people at the top in control of the biggest corporations in Wall Street. They have been doing it. And that's what Democrats, not the president, but that's what many Democrats are going to say, because the Republicans have now opened up the issue of class warfare.
And it seems the Grover Norquist pledge now is really costing them politically, allowing the president, as they have done, to describe them as having signed away forever, for the rest of their lives, any consideration of closing tax loopholes. And that's one of the forgotten elements of the Norquist pledge is it doesn't allow them to even close tax loopholes, because that would raise tax revenue. The president is able now to identify them as protecting every single one of those tax loopholes, corporate jets, whatever it is, in the code. They've got to defend every one of those against the president in this argument.
They've got to not only defend every one of them, but they've got to defend the principle that to take a pledge to Grover Norquist, who is not elected, who is somebody who has a very special particular interest, in this case in protecting the rich from having more taxes that take away a little bit of their extraordinary wealth, that kind of a pledge, tying their hands, is constitutionally part of their responsibility. Well, most Americans say, no, I don't want a representative who's going to tie his hands and take a pledge to somebody I don't even know. I want somebody who's going to represent me and my values. And the president is using that and that kind of bind that Republicans are in against them.
Quickly, Professor, before you go, grade the president's rollout today in this particular circumstance with this bill.
Well, I'd give him an A-. The only reason it doesn't get an A, I would like that tax reform proposal to go far wider and bigger, including capital gains taxes. You know, capital gains taxes are one of the big loopholes in which and through which the rich drive their Ferraris.
Well, I'm giving him an A because I'm feeling generous, and he's up against those crazy Republicans. But I get the point on the A-. You want to encourage your student to keep trying harder.
Keep trying harder. Right. But he's in the right. This is the right president, and this is the right time, and he's done exactly the right thing morally and politically.
Right. Former Labor Secretary Robert Reich, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.